time has come, my friends, to talk of monsters. Welcome to my latest figure review and the last in the Mr. Hyde Figure Wave review series, because, thanks to my wonderful wife buying me Wenwu from Shang-Chi, I now have the head, the torso, the arms, the little leggies, and the cane of Mr. Hyde. Calvin Zabo, deranged scientist, obsessed with human enhancement, inspired by the classic novella, Dr. Jekyll, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, turns himself into a hulking beast who first was an enemy of Thor, the mighty Thor, and has since gone on to be member of the Thunderbolts, to play Captain America, most recently in the events surrounding Maximum, Absolute Carnage and the Ravencroft mini-series has been stirring up shite in New York's most infamous asylum. Here he is as a figure, a massive build-a-figure. For sake of scale, here is Katie, who is not part of the wave, but is adjacent to it. She's not that much shorter than the average height for a figure in this wave. But as you can see, Hyde's torso is nearly as tall as her. So, we are dealing with a fairly big build-a-figure. Maybe around the same range as Armadillo, whose review you can see on my channel from a month or so back. Let us build the terrifying Mr. Hyde. And after we've taken a look at him, we'll have a little chat about the whole wave as a whole. Holes. He's so big! Look at him! He's huge! Calvin, you absolute unit! Iron Man, slightly taller figure, more in the comic book proportions, as Mr. Hyde is a comic book figure. Still towers over him. That is nuts. That's absolutely nuts. He is huge! Before we begin, anyone else who's thinking of collecting this figure, beware. The peg that holds in his head is bigger than the hole in the head for the peg. So, to put his head on, I had to fill the sink, or, partially fill the sink, with boiling hot water, and put his head in it for about 10 seconds, then take his head out, expanded the plastic, popped his head right on the peg, and then ran him under a cold tap. Bill Nye in Shaun of the Dead would be proud. Articulation for this big behemoth of a man. Let's take a little peek. His ankle pivots ever so slightly and twists ever so slightly, kind of hampered by the trousers, which are a little wet because there's still some cold water on them. He has one joint in the knee. He swivels at the thigh. Be careful getting the legs on because it was quite tough to pop them into place. And the crotch moves. The material of the coat is loose enough that it moves up and down slightly so that you can get a decent amount of leg movement and it not be hampered or at risk of tearing the coat. He has a waist swivel, which is quite smooth. He does have an ab crunch, but it's mostly to make him crouch or have a bit of a stupor rather than an action pose. The rubber of the coat and the waistcoat doesn't hamper it, but of course limits it. The arms come out. They fixed in quite decently. I kind of wish that was painted dark green because it's a little obvious, but whatever. There's no swivel in the upper arm. There is a bend at the elbow, which does, it's a little stiff here, but it does twist outwards to allow a bigger range of movement, and the wrists fold inwards. He also has a double ball-jointed peg in the base of his neck. And like I said, you've got to be careful getting it into his head. So it allows for a decent amount of poses. You can have him looking up, more refined gentleman, head set back in his collar, or you can have him sort of glancing down menacingly. That's shorter characters, so most figures. Let's have a little look at the details on Mr. Hyde. He's got nice shiny black shoes with decent sculpts on them. The trousers are standard fare. I would not be surprised if they were exactly the same trousers as the Kingpin Build-A-Figure and Spider-Man Retro Wave Kingpin. The coat's got some nice, simple sculpting on it. The arms are, I think, the exact same as the Kingpin arms, so it's a reuse, but don't mind, because the hands are brand new, with the textured, hairy decal on the side. Of course, the formula he created brings out his more bestial primate sort of features. That's why he's got the hulking figure of a large ape. The buttons and the the seams on the jacket are really, really nice. That's a nice detail. Gives some believability to this being a tiny outfit rather than just a thing slapped on a toy. Nice buttons there. The bow tie is fucking adorable. Pardon my language, but there's no other way to describe it. Look at the face. The head of hair is nice and hairy. He's got very simian, very ape-like quality to the hair. Sort of monkey man meets a werewolf man. His eyes are bloodshot red. Bloodshot's what you're going to be. It's not the fact that he's following you, it's the fact that he doesn't hide when he do. That's it, he's closing. Mr. Psycho by Space. Anyway, his gnashed bared teeth, furrowed brow. The head sculpt is fantastic. It's proper scary, comic booky kind of thing. Thing is, obviously there's not really a reason you'd find this figure or a way you'd pick up this figure without buying all the figures in this wave. But if you were just a fan of the book, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and you wanted an action figure of a vaguely Mr. Hyde-esque character, you pick this guy up on eBay or at a car boot sale, you can't really go wrong. This is a very Mr. Hyde type toy, whether you're a fan of the Marvel villain or not. Pardon me for clearing my throat, because I have to deal with some formalism, specifically his accessory. This was packaged with his right arm and in the Wenwu figure box, the Mandarin. Nice colour, very simple on the cane. It's tall. It's got a few notches in it, which at first I thought was like, oh, it's just, quality control. No. It's to make it look like a used wooden cane that's, been used in battles, been used to hold up his frame. It's got scratches and cuts in it. Even in the handle too. Really nice detail. Let's take a look at him in action and have a look at the rest of the wave as a whole. I said it again. Look at this big scary boy. Oh, he looks so dapper and also frightening. I really like this. As far as Build-A-Figures go, I love it when they make the Build-A-Figure a character that they would have to sell at a gross, large price separately otherwise. And I also love when they take advantage of it to give us characters that people aren't necessarily clamouring for. Because it's just cool to expand your villain roster. Like, off the top of my head, large Build-A-Figures that I own include Ragnarok Hulk in his armour. Like, completed Build-A-Figures I own. Ragnarok Hulk in his armour, the Molten Man creature from Spider-Man Far From Home. Gosh, who else have I got? There's a big one. The Watcher from the What If Disney Plus series. He was a Build-A-Figure. You get smaller ones, like, Bro Thor back there. He was a Build-A-Figure, but, I'm talking about the big ones that you wouldn't necessarily find or pick up. Otherwise, as far as comic book ones go, I've got Ultimate Green Goblin. I've got the Super Skrull. He's not huge, but, still quite formidable sized. I've got an Ironmonger, a Mandroid, Armadillo, the Stilt Man. Just figures that wouldn't be the obvious choice, sorry for clearing my throat, for releasing. But here they are. And Mr. Hyde will now join that army of ever-growing C to Z list villains that will just look cool having fights with the Avengers on the shelves. I'm so delighted with him. He looks amazing. But how does he compare to the rest of his wave? When I rank these figures, I don't rank the Build-A-Figure because it's its own thing. But we had to buy other toys to get this guy. Some I bought. I think one was gifted in this wave. I'll have to have a little thinky poo. My brain's fried. And another one was a present for my birthday. So, which figures in the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings / Mr. Hyde wave do I think are the best? Well, honourable mention goes to Katie, Awkwafina's character from the movie Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, because she's not part of the wave. She was a separate release but came out at the same time. She was like the chase figure that was available at Walmart, Target, or what have you here in the UK. I got her through Kapow Toys. Link is always in the description for those guys if you're curious, because I always think they have decent sales and decent range available. Katie shows up in stock from time to time, usually at a slightly reduced price of about $14.99. I highly recommend picking up Katie because it's great to have the expanded cast. It's a really good sculpt of Awkwafina. She comes with a bow and arrow and like a quiver accessory, and also she comes with Morris, who, let's face it, was the breakout star of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Bless little Morris. So Katie gets an honourable mention. Out of the 6 figures in the wave used to build Mr Hyde, I don't think any of these figures are bad, but order from the one that gave me the least to the one that gave me the best. First up in 6th place is the Civil Warrior. This Contest of Champions video game inspired figure is pretty cool. It's a alternate universe Steve Rogers wearing a Stark Tech armor. He loses points on the fact that the figure's physically kind of hollow. He feels like he could fall apart at any minute. Despite that, he looks pretty cool overall. He likes to throw himself off of surfaces, apparently. And if you want to see my full review for him, you can go further back on the videos on this channel and give it a watch. If you like the game Contest of Champions and you wanted some figures based on it, I do recommend him, but he's not the one to seek out in this range. In 5th place, a beautifully detailed figure let down only by the stiffness of the outfit that means you can't really do much with them pose-wise. The Death Dealer from Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Cracking design. Beautiful details on the figure. The the accessory hands, are nice. One gripping the knife, the combat ones, and the one that's flinging blades, rather like the Ronin Hawkeye that we got a while ago. But the problem is, none of his blades are detachable, so you can't have him posed with a blade in an attack pose. He's only ever got them flung or holding a throwing blade like that. And because of the costume, you really can't do very much with him. However, he looks really intimidating and pretty scary on a shelf, so I'm not gonna not recommend him. You know what I mean? He is worth picking up, but not one to rush out for. In 4th place, for those comic book completionists looking for something a bit more classic, however with a modern spin, AI Tony Stark. This Iron Man figure is pretty damn fun, actually. The classic colours of sort of the more sort of 60s, 70s era of the costume. The alternate head, which is, of course, an Iron Man armour head, means that you're essentially getting a classic Iron Man, but you have the option for the Tony Stark AI glowing noggin, as you can see it there. Do recommend him. Again, not higher up on the list because the plastic has that weird kind of slippy, cheap feel to this one. But as he looks on the shelf, he stands out really nicely. He's been on my comic book shelf for a while, my graphic novel shelf, and he has stood the heck out. So I do recommend him, but he's 4th place on the list. I'm going to take a swig of tea to try and get rid of this cough. Oh, that was lovely. Why am I leaving this in? Because you should all drink tea. Next up, in 3rd place, Xialing! A really cool figure. The likeness is fantastic. My only issue was that I feel to try and match the actor's skin tone, the plastic that they've used is just a little too kind of washed out. It would have been nice if they'd experimented a little bit more. The issue is with Xialing and Katie in particular, not with the male figures from the film. But again, great detail. The scales on the tunic, like the dragon scale detail, is so subtle and so brilliant. I don't know if the camera's picking it up right now. There it is. So subtle, so brilliant. She comes with a nice range of hands for different martial arts and action poses, and she just cuts a really intimidating figure. She looks like a goddamn badass. Xialing is the 3rd place figure in the wave. Highly recommended. In second place, this is not a statement on the fact that it was a birthday present. I'm not going to be biased because of that, but at the same time, it was a cracking gift. Wenwu, the Mandarin. The Tony Leung likeness has blown me away. I'm amazed at how much this looks like the actor. Like, it's so scary. That is like Sideshow collectibles, sort of statue levels of accuracy. That's so cool. To have another primary villain from an MCU movie is always good, because you've probably noticed they don't always release the bad guys as an action figure, or if they do it much later in an expensive 2-pack. So it's really cool to get the villain of the movie, one of the best Marvel villains in a while as well. I'm so happy with this. Downside is his costume limits what you can do with his legs, but as you can see, as a static posed figure, he just cuts a really intimidating presence, and I don't want to deduct points for something that isn't going to affect me really, because he's going to be stood on the shelf, posed and looking like a badass. So there we go. Which means the figure in the wave that I think gets first place is one that I didn't think it would necessarily when I started collecting this wave. I honestly thought Xialing might be the one to get first place. But the more I've had them on my shelf displayed, and the more I've glanced at them over the past 5 months since I got it, the more I've realised that this sculpt is phenomenal. And that's Shang-Chi, based on the movie. The likeness of Simu Liu is captured beautifully. It's done so well. I had him stood quite stoically holding his staff on my shelf for ages, and then I just messed the pose around and brought him further forward. The moment you put him in an action pose, it's like, holy crap, look at that. That's Shang-Chi. That is Shang-Chi from the film. That's Simu Liu. That is Shang-Chi. It's such a good figure. Again, it's nice to just have a figure of one of the new MCU heroes based on their origin. So there we go. Shang takes the top spot. What do you think? What order would you rank the figures? Would you include Mr. Hyde and Katie in the ranking? Let me know in the comments below. If you found these reviews helpful at all, it's the main reason I do them, is because I just collect this stuff, and I think that others who want to buy it might want to see the product before they get to it. Or just, pricing up what they're going to buy, Marvel Legends wise, and if they watch these reviews and it helps them decide, then that's what this was for. If you found it helpful, let me know in the comments down below. If you'd like to support future toy reviews by picking up something on my Amazon wishlist or donating to my PayPal and get a shout out for any contributions, you can use the links in my description. No obligation to do that, obviously. When I get toys, if I think they're worth reviewing or you guys would be interested, I'll review them. But if you want to help out, I'm not going to say no to that. You could also help out completely for free by liking the video, leaving the comment, and subscribing so that you catch future toy reviews should this pique your fancy. Much love, everyone. Have a lovely day. Goodbye. Wave goodbye, Mr. Hyde. He's trying.